Hi, this is Bobweiss. I'm the host of Shakin' Your World. Cheers.
Folks, welcome home. Yet another series in the Shaker's Kitchen. We are here to shake your world with this time kind of a standard Italian food product, and this has been around forever, and it's called a linguine alla vongole, which to us really means linguine with the clam sauce. Now, I have some beautiful little neck clams that were just sourced this morning. They're wild caught. Little necks are basically a Pacific clam because these are wild caught and not rope caught. We'll talk about that in a minute. We're going to soak them in the water for a few minutes. Now, these are obviously a saltwater product, and I'm putting them in fresh water. And the reason I'm doing that is because I want them to not be happy and to expunge any grit or anything that they might have inside of their shells, because we're going to be cooking the clams inside of their own shells inside of the saute pan. So if there's a couple of different ways to look at seafood today. Is that sustainability is really incredibly important today. The world has changed, and we have to have clean sources and fresh beds for things. So in the case of mussels and clams, they often are rope raised today, where they literally have these strands of rope that could be up to 30 feet deep, and the bivalves will attach themselves, the mollusks will attach themselves, and you have this incredibly clean product because it's not laying on the bottom. In this case, these are wild harvested. That means that you've got a fisherman, a seaman, who literally is dredging these up from the bottom. When you dredge things up, of course, you get more particulate matter, whether that's going to be something gritty like sand or it's going to be even something coarser like rocks. So you take a product like this, and these beautiful live creatures, these are live, came from the ocean. They've been kept on ice, which keeps them dormant the entire process. Make sure that your fishmonger, wherever you buy these from, keeps them on ice. I mean, you could probably go to Kroger's or Pick and Save or something like that and find them too just in a seafood case, but the best are going to be the ones that are super cold. And of course, they'll have some kind of a barrier between the ice and this, because ice is fresh water, and these again are going to be salt water. So I'm just kind of moving around a little bit because I want them to be even more agitated and disturbed. And no doubt we're going to cut away from this because this will take us 20 to 30 minutes. But at the conclusion then, we should have had some purging taking place. They're going to open their shells a bit, and they're going to expunge some of the grit and the other things that are inside that are not preferable for us. And then we're going to toss them in our saute pan, olive oil, a little bit of butter, some garlic, of course, parsley, and we're going to saute them, but really kind of steaming as well. So the fluids are really going to work their way up, some white wine as well. And then we're going to make a linguine. And today we have a lovely, freshly made linguine from the state of Wisconsin. It's nothing we made. We sourced this today, actually from Whole Foods. And this particular product looks just like this, but there could be any number of other things. What is interesting to me about this pasta is that it's completely gluten-free. They do use egg, and they use a rice powder as well as potato. So as opposed to just a standard wheat linguine, this is certainly something outside the normal realm. But in today's world, people have allergies and all sorts of sensitivities to things. So to find something like this that is other than mainstream and yet to replicate the flavors, I think is the way you want to go. So we're going to let our clams sit here for a few minutes to let our water get up to speed as well, and we'll connect with you in just a few short moments. Thank you. Folks, welcome back. And we're at this point now. We get about 20 or 25 minutes into these. You can see the water has gotten a little murky. They've opened up. They clean themselves pretty nicely. And that's the residue that's in the water that we don't want to go into our dish. The other thing about using wild clams and mussels is that sometimes, as wild caught, they've got a beard on them as well. You can just use a coarse brush and scrub off the beard, so you don't want to have a bearded clam that you're cooking with here. So our temperature is working out pretty nicely in our pan. At this point, let's get ourselves some garlic into this. Some I'm going to leave whole, and some I'm going to crush. I want two different flavors to take place here. So this obviously is my crushed portion. And then we'll just take the uncrushed cloves here as well. I'm using a Greek olive oil today. If you have the opportunity to get yourself into something from California, they make exquisite products, and that, of course, keeps it home. But I do prefer Greek olive oil over many of the Italians or the Spanish or the Turkish. I just think it's generally a cleaner flavor, whereas many of the other European countries have a tendency sometimes to maybe cheat a little bit in some things. I'm sure going to get some letters on that, but feel free to set them my way. So what I'm going to do with this right now is I'm going to just drain off our clams to the water. And you can see how our water looks. It's got a little discoloration taking to it. That's both the internal and the externals. The reason I'm shaking right now is because I want to get as much moisture off as I can, because oil and water just don't mix well, right? So we've got 15 of these little neck clams. Sounds like rocks. It's all good. Going to cut ourselves some parsley. We have, of course, this is an Italian dish, so we have an Italian parsley, also called flat leaf, and we're just going to get this in there as well. And that's just going to work itself for a couple of minutes now. You'll see that the shells will start to open up, and because there's obviously liquid inside of them, they are alive. And that liquid is going to reach a certain temperature, and the pressure is going to force the abductor muscle to relax the complete shell and to open it up. So that's what we're doing right here. Touch more butter. I want this to be good and buttery. If you wanted to have this as a cream sauce, you can certainly do that. This is more of a classic approach to it. And it's going to have a very clean complexion, a very clean flavor to it, without that, sometimes heavy tone that cream sauces can take on. Now, what I also like to do, we're not doing a red sauce, but I do like to take some tomatoes, and I got these beautiful grapes that came from the farmer's market yesterday, and not a lot, but just a few. I've also got this beautiful heirloom yellow tomato, and I want that to go in there. Again, this time of year, hit the farmer's markets, because the best produce comes right from the farm, and hence to the market, and hence to you. So again, this is going to just be a coarse cut. I'm not looking for anything fancy on this. This won't be part of our presentation, tomato. Just adds a lot of color to the dish, which I think is important. And so to assist these guys in their cook down, I'm going to take another pan and put it over the top. You can put these in the oven too if you want. If you got a grill going and it's summertime or fall, you can stick them on top of your grill. You'd have the same great impact taking place. Kosher salt, salt our water well. Going to get ourselves up to these little bloom taking place. Get ourselves up to temperature here, and then we're going to drop this linguine into our boiling water. When I do pasta, I like to have a little bit of olive oil there as well. Some people will tell you it keeps the pasta from sticking together. Some people will tell you it adds flavor. I don't frankly know if any of those are correct, but I know I just like to do it. It's a force of habit. And I think it keeps the pasta from sticking to the bottom of the pan. And that's why I do it. Again, we can, because of our constraints here for filming, we can speed this up a little bit by taking a lid and putting that on top too. And that will dramatically shorten the cooking time. Folks, welcome back. We've got about 15 minutes or so in our clams, and they are opening up very nicely. Got a couple here that are lagging behind, but they're still opening up, so they're still viable. This guy is not doing anything. We'll give him a minute, and this one a minute longer. If your clams don't open up, they're not going to open up, so toss those out. So just a minute longer with that, and then what we're going to do is, because I want to really enhance the flavor, we got a really generous thing going on, and of course you got that special gig taking place with our in-laws, your girlfriend, whatever the case might be. I want to put a little more clam in. So I do have, we use a variety of different sea clam products here at Shakers to make different soups. And I would use this for anything like a cioppino to any number of things, the bouillabaisse. But we have a sea clam, 100% sea clam here. And it doesn't matter who the manufacturer is. I've drained off some right now. I've got the rest of the fluid is here. I want to maintain this fluid liquor taste. And by liquor, I just mean the juice that they are packed in, which is their own juice. And I don't want to put alcohol in here. But it'll give us even more of a clammy kind of a dish, which I think this wonderful linguine is going to deserve. So this guy is not opening up. Making the assumption he's just not gonna. And neither is this one. All right, so we got this real neat little flesh going on here, and they're open. Technically they're done now, but I think I want to get just a little more cooking time on those. And that's all personal preference. If you want it to rip right now, it is completely wholesome and happy and good for you to eat. So while that's working, we're going to take our lid off here of our boiling water. We're taking our gluten-free linguine, which is from the Taste Republic in Madison, Wisconsin. And I've already oiled and salted the water, and in we go. So that should just take a few minutes while that's happening. A little shaky going on here. I'm going to take this lovely tomato. Now you're going to say this side of tomato's got some blemishes. I don't care about that. It's going to taste equally as good. And I think one of the things about being an American is that we have become really arrogant about the food that we eat and preoccupied with the beauty, the glamour, the Hollywood look of it. And I think that just unfortunately causes a lot of really good fruit and produce, vegetables, to be thrown out. So just like an onion, I will rotate this as I just did, so we get the thickest parts to work with. And we're not trying to hold on to and cut from small pieces. Lovely, it's an heirloom, that's what's taking place there. So just will be the surround for our tomato. And we've had just some extraordinary green tomatoes in from the farmer's market as well that have, as they have matured, just in the span of a couple of days here, they've taken on these beautiful salmon colors on the inside of the meat. It's beautiful. So anyway, here we are, and this is what the outside of our plate is going to look like. Looks like you got a few more minutes to go on that linguine. Shake this a little bit more. Our clams are all open up and looking really happy. This guy is opening, but he's kind of wanting to, there you go. Give him a little assistance. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to drain off this linguine in a moment, and after shaking that off to get as much of the water off of that, the hot water, I'm going to toss that inside of this mix with the clams. And then all that goodness of the clam juice is going to not just cling on the outside, it's going to kind of permeate into some of the pores of the linguine. It's going to make for an extraordinary dish. So what I'm not going to do is, because this is a non-gluten pasta, this is just rice and potato, I'm not going to rinse it. I'm not trying to get any starch off of this. I'm going to take it just the way it is, toss it in, boom, 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 flip it around a couple of times, and let the goodness work. So again, as it's non-gluten, one of the oldest tricks that there is in commercial kitchens, and maybe your mama taught you this as well, is you take a strand of pasta and you throw it against a stainless steel wall. And if it sticks, it's done. The problem here is we don't have the starch which is being converted and excreted, if you will, is being pushed out of the pores by the cooking process. So there's no starch, it's not going to stick. I do think it's almost done, and you can tell by the bite, the al dente. But again, this is rice, so it's going to have a different complexion to it, almost like a mung bean rice would than a flour will. So just a moment longer on that. Now there's myriad pasta shapes and sizes. If you're using something like this, which is non-gluten, you are not going to get the same effect, not only in not being sticky, you're not going to get the same kind of effect as far as expansion or anything else goes. it binds together a little bit differently. So, in my mind, we're as done as I want it to be because I don't want it to fall apart. Our string. Kicking off as much of just that salted water as we can. Into our pasta. All sorts of goodness taking place here. My good dear Lord, does this smell wonderful. The combination of the clams with the garlic, that little bit of butter, that olive oil, the parsley. You know, it's funny because for years the joke in the high-end culinary world was that fine herbs on menus meant parsley. But the reality is that parsley adds so much dynamic flavor to a dish. And it's so simple, and it grows everywhere, just like a weed. Isn't that beautiful? Just a little bit more. Get as much flavor in as we can. So as you can tell from the moment I put this in, it has absorbed some of that extraordinary stock that we have. And when I dress a plate, I generally do the cardinal points first. And then I get my fills in. So we began with 15. One of them went, or two of them went errant and didn't open up for us. Overlap is all good. Now in the center, we're going to have our stock, which includes the clam shells, or the clam rather, that we had taken from a can as a chopped up clam and added to this. Right over the top. It's not one of those incredibly neat little fast food presentations for the queen. This, however, is something you could serve to your girlfriend, your fiance, or the queen mom when she visits as well. I hope you enjoy. So we have a linguine with a clam sauce, otherwise known as a linguine alla vongole. I hope you enjoy. Cheers.